So I want to show something called street theater and sort of demonstrate it as it relates to one light gang stalking. I'm using dash cam. I've got two views here. I've got a front view and a rear view. And the purpose of this is to kind of just show both the front and rear. So I'm going to kind of transition to that view now. You can see the front view at the top, the rear view at the bottom. As I'm driving down the street there, approaching to the first light, I'm going to make a lane change here to the left. And as I make that stop at the stoplight there, notice what comes up behind me in my rear view. The first one light driver. What a coincidence. You can see this particular driver is right behind me as we take off from the light there. But you'll notice that the driver is going to turn off here. They do this to try to, number one, create sort of a doubt that they're actually following and actually to not follow. So it's both to kind of create sort of plausible deniability as well as to actually not follow. But this is the reason why we call it gang stalking, because there are a lot of individuals involved. You can see the next light here. As I pull up to the light here, you can see behind me in my rear view, you can notice here this Honda Civic. Again, one headlight. This seems non-threatening, but as I said earlier, when you see this 10, 12, 14 times a day, every day, you begin to know that somebody's coordinating this. Somebody knows my whereabouts. Somebody is performing the stalking and organizing people to kind of just sort of signal me in such a way where other people will not know or pick up on it. So I'm on the freeway here, just driving down the freeway, and I want you to notice the time as well. The time stamp there at the lower left indicates exactly the time of day that this all happened. And you'll notice that each one of these occurrences happen within about 3 to 5 minutes from each other. And I kind of chop up the video here because I didn't want to make it too long. But if you'll notice in my rear view here, I want you to notice there's going to be a car approaching here right there. You can see the silver car there approaching in the rear view right now. And as it gets closer, you can see it's a 2013 Chevy Malibu. You can see as I freeze frame it under the overpass, it has one light. And you can see the timestamp there at 11:36. Now, they come and they'll sit behind me for a minute, just, long enough to wait until I kind of see them, and then they pass on by. This is very, very common with street theater. And as I mentioned earlier, there are always a number of people. Here's another one here coming up on the left. But there's always more than what you see there. In other words, you'll see the one light drivers, but there are always people who are sort of coordinating and kind of working together. And that's going to be evident as you see the video, as you continue watching the video. Kind of notice not only the one lighters, but notice the cars around them. This video is actually being put together, number one, to demonstrate the tactics of organized street theater, community stalking, but it's also to provide evidence of this happening. Notice this yellow Xterra in front of me, this yellow Nissan Xterra. Notice that it just made a left-hand lane change in front of me, and you're going to notice how the driver gradually slows up until he gets right in front of me. You'll notice the gradual slowing of the driver. And that's for the purpose of getting close enough to show off his one brake light. You can see it there shortly. But I want you to notice something else, and this is the reason why I said there's more than one person involved. Notice also the 1998 Toyota truck on the right. You see it there on the right in the front view. notice that it's also slowing up as well. Just there's no one in front of it, but it's just gradually slowing up, slowing until I approach there. No car in front of it, right? It's just kind of gradually going slower and slower and slower. This is a 1989 rather Toyota pickup. Notice the one reverse light on the right, on the left. Now you'll notice in the rear view, the Toyota truck sort of kind of goes off in the rear view there, and then he gets off the freeway. He'll make a right-hand lane change and he'll exit the freeway. And now it's time for the yellow exterior in front of me. The yellow exterior steps on its brake, and you can see clearly the one brake light. You can see this is all organized, and this is not coincidental, guys. This is very much organized street theater. It's sponsored by the Fusion Centers. This is the game that they play against targeted individuals. Now, as I pass this yellow Xterra, I'm going to continue driving down the freeway here. My exit is actually coming up here. You can see the Xterra in my rear view, now back in my front view there. And mission accomplished for the Xterra. I mean, you know, traffic moves on now. The Xterra has accomplished its mission. You can kind of look around also in the rear view, and you can kind of see other cars that are kind of maintaining the pace with me. That's always the case. There's always going to be two or three. No matter how slow I go or how fast I go, there's always going to be two or three maintaining pace. Now, I finished this particular day. I was going into church, and so I'm getting out now. This is in the evening. You can notice the timestamp down there. It's at 13:57. You can see the front and rear view here as I just came on the street here. I'm at the stoplight. The light turns green and I'm taking off here, and I go ahead and make that right hand turn onto this little side frontage road here. As I approach the main road, as I approach this main road, there's a stop sign here. I want you to notice this black Nissan Tundra, or Toyota Tundra. You can see it there. As I kind of slow up the video, you can see it in front of me there. That's a Toyota Tundra. I want to run that clip again and kind of show you. Notice how at the exact time when I approach the stoplight, this Tundra is going across in front of me. Now, as I continue, I made a right-hand turn there and I continue down the road. As we approach the light, coincidentally, the Tundra's there with its one brake light. And again, this is organized street theater. It doesn't really, it doesn't faze me. It happens so much. It's been going on for years, but I know it now. And I'm just kind of using these videos to kind of alert people that this is going on. And for those they're just becoming targeted, they can kind of notice that this activity does happen and the reasons why. As I pull out there, you can see that truck, that Silverado truck, just as I pass that van, one headlight. Notice how everything is timed perfectly. I mean, this is the reason why we call it organized community gang stalking or organized stalking. Now, you'll notice here that Tundra again. See it in my rear view off to the left there, off to the right. On the right side, left side of the screen there. Notice how that Tundra staying right up with me. You're going to see it go into my front view there, and they won't keep driving. You can kind of notice the gap between that Tundra and the next truck. They're going to just kind of stay right there with me because they want to gaslight a little bit more and show off their one brake light. So Ortega, the registered owner, steps on the brake there, and you can see, notice the light up ahead. The light is green. There's a gap between this truck and the next truck. Even though the next truck is stopping, that's the reason why I said there's always more than one involved. This is organized street theater, guys. This is an organized campaign sponsored by the Fusion Centers for targeted individuals. Now, as I get onto the freeway, as I'm making my approach on the on-ramp to this very crowded freeway here, you can see my front view, if you'll notice the front view here, I want to call your attention as soon as I get on the freeway to this GMC truck. You can see as I merge in behind this car here, this silver car here, you'll notice here right about there, you can see that GMC truck right there, Sierra truck. Now, as I go back to the double front and rear view, notice in the rear view now, as we go under the underpass, notice the one light. I'm going to loop that video here and slow it up. As he approaches under the underpass, you can see the one light in the front. Again, friends, I mean, this is the game that they play. It doesn't really, it's kind of funny now. And now that it's theater. It's theater, and I don't always notice it, but I decided to make this video just to kind of show individuals what goes on. I'm actually taking all of these files and storing them away on an online portal as evidence. Obviously, they're not committing a crime, but this is a game that they play against targeted individuals. So I'm going to document everything, and that is the reason why I'm making these videos. As I continue driving down Freeway there, as I'm merging on, we're merging on here, and you can see it's very, very crowded on this particular day. But you'll notice now on the right side, you see the right side of the screen and the rear view. The right side of the screen and the rear view, that lane to the right, you'll see a white car merge out from under the overpass. You see that white car? Well, that car behind it, you're going to see that that's a one light driver as well. And you can see as it's under the underpass, you can see it pretty good there. Again, as I slow the video down and loop it, you can clearly see one light. Now, again, this is the game that they play. It doesn't really faze me anymore, but I'm just kind of showing this as sort of educational for other people that would have the same problem. Now, as I'm merging on, notice in the front view, this 2000 Toyota Corolla, one light. And as I continue merging on, you can see that white car that was under the underpass with the unknown driver behind it. Notice the gap between that white car. It's almost as though, mission accomplished. We don't want to drive any faster. We just want to kind of stay way back because we've actually accomplished our mission. This is street theater, guys. And this is the game that they play. For some reason, it's connected to not only the fusion centers, but the purpose of this is particularly to get the person, the targeted individual, to either act out or to actually induce post-traumatic stress, which would then result in experiencing where they take over the mind or mind control. All of the targeted individuals that this is happening to, for 9 times out of 10, they're on remote neural monitoring. You notice the car here that made the U-turn in front of me. I can spot it a mile away. This happens hundreds of times, and you're going to see as we take off from the light there, this car will drive slower and slower and slower. They won't go too much below the speed limit, but they're going to go slow enough to where it's going to frustrate. It's a form of gaslighting. This is just gaslighting, right? They'll go slower and slower and slower until you get upset and pass them. And this will happen over and over again. See, I saw it, and so I'm merging to the left. I knew what was going to happen. So I merged to the left, and you're going to see him take off now, and he's going to lane change to the left as well. Almost as if to try to, appear as though he's not interested in doing anything, any form of gaslighting, right? Notice that left hand change now, and he sort of leaves, the scene, so to speak. The other thing that I would mention is that all of these cars are different. I'm not so sure all the drivers are different. I did put the names of the registered owners, the one that I could pick up from DMV records, but these are both men and women. I have my thoughts about who these individuals are. It doesn't really matter, but I know that it's very obvious from this video that this is some sort of organized community stalking or gang stalking, street theater. And obviously there's some motivation that these drivers get for doing this, because they're too dedicated to their task. Now, as I'm approaching the house here, coincidentally, notice what we see here. There's a car here halfway in the street, halfway near to the curb. Notice it's sitting there all alone with its foot on the brake. I'm going to loop the video here again. And you can see there one brake light. Right coincidentally, as I'm pulling into the house here, as I'm pulling into the driveway, there's a car. Nobody's standing there. No one's talking. No one's in front of it. It's just sitting there halfway in front of the street with its foot on the brake. Okay, gaslighting, organized gang stalking.